mean?
That's the only reason why I do it, because I don't want anyone to feel like, all right, well, I didn't know this was coming, or you didn't tell me, or what, anything like that. So
No,
I
I
kind of
appreciate that in
I
respect
start
wise.
with I usually start with the preface. I'm Karen L. This is Say It Loud podcast. 3 years. I'm a teacher. Like in my real life, I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. I
Me
don't
too.
want. You are?
I just got home from.
Wow. I did not want to be a teacher.
Well, I've always been a teacher, whether I wanted to or not.
I didn't want to be a teacher. I got divorced a couple years ago, and I was like, what can I do that's going to give me direct deposit that I could be around more for my kids?
Yeah.
And so I went back to school and got my master's degree. Before that, I sold radio advertisement. I was in media and radio. And then like a year and a half ago, I was driving over the G Dubs. That's how the podcast started. And I was like, this can't be my fucking life. Like, this can't be it. And I called my daughter, who lives in Brooklyn now, and I was like, this can't be my life. And she was like, Mom, if there's anybody that can do anything about it, it's you. What are you going to do? And I went home, and I had, like I said, I had a background in media and sales and all that. That's what my undergrad is in. And I put together a podcast, and I just called all the people I knew and my friends, and was like, come on the show. And I put it out there, and I was like, I don't know who's going to listen, but I'm going to just do it.
Good shit.
And it's been 3 years, and we've charted all over the world, here in the States, Canada, London, France, Denmark, magazines, TV, like all kinds of stuff that I could have never imagined.
That's good.
So I, I teach during the day, and the other half of my life is this.
Well, for me, intermittently, I've taught for like 10, 11 years. Some college, some, but I serve high school students. I teach an alternative school, the ankle monitor type kids and all that. And that's my thing. I do it for the joy of it. I wasn't looking for direct deposit or anything like that. I just wanted, be in that kind of like vibe and impact some black male youth and females too. But that's my calling. That's something that I just have.
All right, so let's talk about it. Let's go.
Cool.
I'm gonna edit this in post-production. Do you have music you want me to put in this, or no? We just chilling. We just vibing.
I mean, just if I had known like about a week ago, I could have sent it to you. But like the busy day, like I'm just getting home from.
Yeah, no, that's cool. You can send it to me this week, and I can edit and throw it in.
Well, music, shy music. I did. I don't know if you follow me on Instagram or know anything about what's happening with me lately, but I just released 2 singles.
Yeah.
You could have played, you can snatch those and play them if you want or not.
All right, so let's do those. Let's introduce. We'll talk about those. You'll introduce those. I'll leave a little space when you introduce it so that I can cut it and drop the music in there whenever you send it to me.
All right.
All right.
But you can just get it. Like, it's on YouTube, you know what I mean? Or
just rip it from there.
Yeah, you can just take it, because to wait on me to send you something, it's probably not gonna happen. You know what I mean? Especially all the shit I got going on.
At least you're very honest about that.
Yeah.
All right. It is another episode of Say It Loud. It's Karen L here, your favorite gilf. And in my hot seat this week is Garfield. Also, do you always go by Garfield?
That's my name. Yeah, I'm Garfield.
I used to know your music group Shy. I just know Shy, like the whole group.
Yeah. Well, my name is Garfield, and that's my actual name. So if you can come up with some kind of nickname out of that if you want, you can, or whatever. But my name is Garfield.
So let's get started with the new music that you just dropped. What was the it's been a while since you dropped some music. So what was the incentive, or what were you feeling when you were like, all right, I'm going to get back out there and I'm going to drop some more music? Like, what was going on then?
Well, I've been recording just a whole bunch of music for like the past maybe 6 years, and I hadn't released any of it. So I recently reconnected with an old friend of mine. Kinetic Source is his MC name. His name is Anthony Stout. And he sent me a few tracks. We were originally going to put some stuff out for Black History Month. And I ended up recording a body of work in that same theme, and just decided, you know what, man, I'm going to go ahead and release a couple of these joints. And, out of the hundreds of songs I've been recording, I finally just said, okay, I'm going to drop two. One is called What You See. It's a critique of America in terms of its policies and its prejudicial treatment towards blacks.
Right.
You know, and then I did another song called "Love's a Vibe." That's kind of celebrating black love. It's starring my wife, Demetria Bright, and it's just a nice like Soulquarian. It's like a Jay Dilla type feel, track wise, and
I love it.
it's something that probably like Tribe Called Quest is somebody could have easily been on from back in the
Yeah.
day. But yeah, it's called Love's a Vibe, and I did my thing. It's hip hop soul is the kind of like the feel, Mary J does hip hop soul, but this version, this iteration of it is not her style of it. It's more like a
Right.
Roy Ayersy kind of laid back. I don't know if you ever heard of this artist called Michael Franks. This white dude named Michael Franks, but
No.
I'm like a hip hop Michael Franks.
All
If
right.
you,
All right.
in terms of my
All right.
style and delivery on a lot of my songs, a lot of my music, it's real subdued, almost like I'm talking, but it's dope harmony arrangements, but it's real subtle. It's real,
I like
nuance,
that.
and
I
it's
like that
pretty
because it
cool.
gives you your own identity in your music. It's not
Yeah.
somebody else's identity, it's yours. So why'd you hold on to the music that you was making for so long? Any particular reason?
Not any particular reason other than I just, I was just, I'm a singer, I'm a recorder, I'm an artist. So I always create songs. I'm always getting tracks. I'm always writing. I'm always demoing stuff up because I know how to use Pro Tools and I just end up with song after song that I rock. Some I get mixed, some are still not mixed, but creative wise, I have to create. And so
Right.
you look up and they're like pennies, they amass. And
Right.
next thing you know, you got $1 worth of pennies. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's what it is with me with the songs. But as it started accruing and getting to be a lot, and people were telling me that the sound started developing more of a niche and more of a signature,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like, okay, now it's time to go ahead and start putting some stuff out, for consumption, for people to hear where I am as the guy that was in Shy. What does he sound like by himself? Like what kind of style? And
Yeah.
then, and that's what I ended up making happen. Like What You See, the first one is more like it's like D'Angelo meets Gil Scott Heron. It's the
Yes.
sound. It's that
I
sound.
like both of those guys.
Yeah. So that's when you hear that one. That's what that one's gonna sound like. So it's
I
it's a
like
it's a vibe for sure.
And what was the influence in those? You said one of them was about like the things that are going on in society
Yeah.
today, especially with black and brown people. What made you want to write about that?
Well, like I said, Kinetic and I, because the samples inside of them, like What You See, you got some Malcolm X samples in there.
Oh,
You got some
nice.
hip hop. Choke on your own spit. As soon as you mention us, like we got some hip. So those samples were already in the track, and so that
Right.
put me in the mind frame of a critique type of feel. And so being who I am, I'm always been an activist type. I went to Howard. I was part of Black Nia Force. Raz Baraka, the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, was a leader of one of the organizations I was in when I was in college. And we took over the A building and got Lee Atwater, a KKK member, kicked off the board. So I was always that type of person. So it was easy for me to write. I was a member of the Nation of Islam for a few years. So it was easy for me to create an indictment against America's treatment of blacks and Latinos in a way that's funky and not corny. And so I just felt like I needed to do it. I did a whole album full of that kind of thing, with different kind of messages, different angles, but by and large, that kind of feel. And
Yeah.
there's some more coming. So yeah, I was just in that mode, and I didn't release any of it for Black History Month. But if I had, those were like perfect Black History Month type songs. But
Yeah.
still, even the commentary and the way that we are living in our black skin on a regular, those songs are always apropos. And so I was like, I don't have to do a Black History Month. That's cliche anyway. So I
Yeah.
just put it out a couple of days ago.
I
You
think that given the way that we're living right now and the things that continuously happen in the news, and I don't watch the news much, but it's on your phone and it's in our space and it's in our ear. I
yeah,
feel like there needs to be some kind of soundtrack to this narrative,
yeah,
and like you said, it doesn't have to be Black History Month because this shit's happening every goddamn day, where we seeing kids get shot and people get beat up and all that kind of stuff, where there needs to be a voice and there needs to be a narrative. And it's crazy because we're going to get into this is my next question. Music like that, it seems like it becomes the spoke song for a movement and things like that. But does it overpower the negative stuff that we, the same people, are singing and chanting and out here selling?
I don't know if it's supposed to overpower anything. I think the expression of it, just in terms of it's not versus mode. Like
Yeah,
that binary style of thinking. I think is pretty much what's doing us in, where it's
yeah,
an either or kind of paradigm we living in. And I think both and, in creating win-win situations is it's time for that to deal with it. So the lane that I'm in my skin, in the vibe that I'm creating, it just has its own lane, whether it's
right,
verses or not. It's just something to be consumed. If you run across it and you got a little bit of that on the inside of you, then that's the time where that nexus of those two things will create a situation where that rises to the top within you as you
right,
listen.
right,
As long
right.
as that can be on your consciousness at some point, even amidst all the other stuff, it got a room to fit in that day and come to the level, then that's a win. You know what I mean?
Yo,
So
I love that. I love that. That definitely is a way. And that's in all of us, whether
yeah,
we
for
know it or
sure.
not.
So it's just a little nugget, a little reminder, but it's also a vibe too. You can ride to it. Like I said, it kind of feels like some D'Angelo and a little bit of like Gil Scott Heron. And
Yeah,
so from the last poets, we listened to Gil to hear what he talking about, but at the same time, that music was funky that he was
right,
rocking to. You know what I'm saying? Same
right.
thing with D'Angelo. You know what I'm saying? He always funky and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So it's I try to musicality wise represent the highest I can, but also create a niche. A little niche.
yeah. And that is a niche. That's a niche market and a niche sound. But like you said, you can anybody could listen to it and anybody could vibe to it, and it's not anywhere where you can't get to it or resonate with it. So
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate that. When you're sitting and writing, what is like, how do you get over any kind of writer's block, or how do you kind of say, okay, this is what my idea is, now I got to bring it into fruition? Like, what are the things that you do before you write?
Well, my process is like, well, one, not to be crazy sounding or whatever, but I don't ever have writer's block. I don't like. I
That's
love.
because you love what you do, so
Yeah, I
it
love
comes
words.
naturally.
I love fitting things together like a puzzle, and I love the fact that tracks to me are just sitting there, and it's already a song written to me, and I'm just there to connect dots and match the mood and the vibe of what the music is doing with some words that are already there. Like process for a lot of MCs, they'll do a verse where they'll mumble first. They'll be it ain't no words yet, but it's a cadence. I
Right.
do that with my melody and cadence. Whatever the beat is doing, I make sure the drums I'm rocking in a way that's catchy. And as I'm rocking, I'm recording that on my little voicemail, like that no word kind of like mumbo jumbo
Hmm.
cadence in the melody, and then I end up putting words in those patterns that actually make sense because I already got the feel right. Some people come so intellectual, they think of words first, but a lot
Right.
of times words they tell the story, but you'll be missing the cadence. You'll be missing the part that people resonate to rhythmically with the words. So I come with that stuff first, which is the gooey ooey, the feeling part, and then I just put the actual words in that, and I already know the feeling is already correct.
Ah,
And then from there, like the icing on the cake is the words. That's the easy part for me. Words are never hard, like ever. You know,
wow.
telling a
I
story.
never heard anybody say that, but that's so cool.
Yeah, that's how I write. That's how a lot of people write that I mess with. Actually, they processes that. It'll come out when you start actually talking about it with them. Like, they'll be like, yo, I
Right.
do that too, man. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like that's the thing that most people do. They just don't talk about it.
Yeah. That's pretty cool with the whole process of putting the music together and then making it. So are you shooting videos for this new music
I'm,
that's
I'm
coming?
going to I'm going to put a couple of little real simple like video ideas together that don't take away from the song. Um, that just that's just cool visuals that enhance it. Just because of its simplicity, not
Yeah.
basicness, simplicity, and then you can get a better gander through the performance. But they're gonna be like more performative pieces, but real simple, real picturesque, kind of like backgrounds and things that are aesthetically pleasing without
Yeah.
being too overdrawn or too complicated or too technical. Just kind of
Right.
organic
As long as
like
it
stuff.
doesn't take away from the music.
Yeah, just and just fits in and just enhances and give you something good to look at to take in the lyricals because the lyrics and the stuff is really important to me because I'm writing for a purpose on these particular songs. These are like content driven songs.
I love it. I love it. So we're gonna play some of your songs. I'm gonna leave that right there. What was your experience like in Shy? Like how old were you when all of that was happening?
Man, Shy, I was a senior at Howard. I was about 21.
Wow. So you were
Yeah, I was
young.
21 because we signed in October, and that was my birthday. Like, as soon as we signed, it was my birthday again. And
Yeah.
so it was definitely October the 12th was my birthday. So we signed in October of 92. So that I had just turned 22 when we got our deal. And it was surreal. You know, it was
Yeah.
a fast paced life in terms of life, just taking off from point A to point Z. And you
Right.
could tell in the moment that it wasn't real life. It was like some crazy, warped, surreal, Twilight Zone-ish thing you were in, but it was fun. You knew it couldn't possibly last forever.
Right.
But you were down for the ride and, create a legacy in the process. And I think we were able to do that.
That's amazing. What was your family like? What was your mom saying when you was like 21 years old and I'm gonna do this?
Well, we all came from Howard. So
Yeah.
parent wise, they wanted you to do what you went to school for. I was a political science major, history minor. I worked on Capitol Hill for the Senate Judiciary Committee. My mom was well connected politically, so she always had me interning on Capitol Hill and doing
Uh-huh.
all the precursors to become either some kind of lawyer or some kind of legislator. That was like the track that she thought I was on. And
Uh-huh.
in my mind, I was not doing that. And I was a liberal arts guy, but I was a creative. And my first dream was to be what Stuart Scott ended up being. Rest in peace. Was a broadcast journalism type guy who
Right.
used hip hop to kind of like be the skin, um, to put the real technical and journalistic jargon within, and that's what
Right.
Stuart Scott was. He was like a hip hop journalist, but the
Yeah.
highest level of the journalist part was there, but he just dressed it up in the black skin. And I wanted to
Right.
be the first guy to do that. I had a thought in my brain of how I wanted to be, and I wanted to be like what Stuart Scott ended up being. But my dad was a broadcast journalism major from the University of
Oh
Tennessee,
wow.
and he was always telling me, "You're not gonna make no money in that. Major in chemistry." So I got to Howard. I majored in chemistry. I hated it, and then I finally turned into a political science major, and that's when my GPA shot way up, and that's when I started becoming more confident as a student. I got my first 4.0 and all those kinds of things. But a 21-year-old at Howard University, as dope as Howard was, I came of age at Howard through that, and that was a golden
Yeah.
era of hip hop and R&B. And by God, we messed around and got a record deal, and I became part of the pantheon of legendary R&B artists within that genre. It's crazy,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
end up being one of those. It's like wild to think that. It's kind of trippy,
So
but
your
yeah.
dad was a broadcaster. Your
No,
mom
he majored in broadcast journalism, and he did
did.
have a few shows, but he
Yeah.
worked mostly for the National Education Association.
And your mom in politics, right?
Well, my
Somehow.
mom was an educator. She worked for the Alabama Education Association, and she worked for the Democratic National Convention. She's a voting delegate for the Democratic Party
Wow.
to this day. So just steeped in
So
politics and education with my people.
yeah. Yeah. So how you started singing?
Well, that's just something that you do. Like that
It's
ain't.
just
My
like
dad always. I didn't come from a gospel household. My dad played jazz all the time,
yeah.
like straight ahead jazz, not like easy listening jazz, but like jazz. Like rest in peace, Ahmad Jamal, like who just passed, like those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Coltrane, Sarah Vaughan,
Mm-hmm.
Ahmad Jamal, like the McCoy Tyner, the VSOP Quintet by Herbie, like real straight ahead stuff. And my ear was beginning to develop in a jazz way. I used to always try to see if I could find a harmony note to any melody that was playing, if I could find a harmony to it. And I just
Right.
grew up with that, not really caring if I could sing or not, but I was just intrigued by the way music worked. And so I just fell in hard body. And when I finally got with Shy during my senior year, when I met back up with Darnell, because who was my roommate freshman year, they had a big talent show that they were about to enter. And there was five Alpha members in that group, but two of them had quit right before the show. And in that time period, I had been hanging back out with Darnell every day in the Fine Arts Building, watching Shy do their thing. And then so when two of them quit, Darnell was like, "Yo, we need a full part harmony. Like we need you in here. You've been here for like 5 months watching us rehearse.
You could do
Yo,
it.
I know you know the parts." I was like, "Well, I do know the bass." And so that talent show happened, and I was actually in the group for the talent show. And then we ended up getting standing ovation and encore, and we decided on the stage to try to get a record deal that night. and you know, it was born at that moment. I was in a group, and
That's crazy.
I learned on the job how to that I need to perfect this little craft that I was embarking upon, the singing thing. So I had raw talent, raw abilities, but that really made me hone it in, because I went from being on stage covering Boys II Men songs and singing If I Ever to being on
Right.
Jay Leno and Arsenio like next month, you know,
Right.
singing Comforter. And so
Yeah.
it was like I had a crash course in just learning all the stuff I need to learn to become polished and professional before, you know, it was really on the job training. It was crazy. But you know, I didn't sink. I swam, and, you know, I could tell about it now in a way where, you know,
But you know, like when you're an old man, your book is gonna be so good because you're gonna. No, it's true because you'll get to go back in your life and write about these experiences and be like, look at the. Because you know how many people would love for that to happen to them in their life.
yeah,
Like
I
it just
always
kind
trip
of
out that it
happened.
happened to me. I
You know.
totally, because I never grew up aspiring to be that. I let me call it. I was gonna be a Division I basketball player, dude. You know, I used to be a popper, break dancer, coming out of Boston, and played ball. And I just love music. I was trying to be a DJ. I had two turntables in the mic, two turntables in the mixer. For my 15th birthday, my dad bought me a realistic mixer, and I had two Akai turntables. Thought I was gonna be a DJ, but as fate would have it, you know, I ended up meeting Darnell, and we ended up singing our hearts out, doing all kind of covers, and then, you know, the group happened, and here I am standing before y'all as this guy from Shy. Crazy.
That's crazy though. Not crazy. I just think about when you use that word legacy.
Yeah.
You know, and when people get to look back on their own legacy, right? Because everybody else can celebrate you and we will. But when you look back on your own legacy and you get to tell your own story, like that's pretty dope, the story that you get to tell.
Yeah, for sure. Because, you know, not only is it going to include my Howard career, my Shy days, but I'm also Dr. Bright. I have a PhD in educational policy study. That when I went back to school, I went to Georgia State, got my master's in African American studies, went on to get my PhD in educational policy studies, ended up with a 4.03 grade point average in both of
Wow.
those. And I won the Asa Hilliard Award in my master's program for the dopest dissertation, thesis. And then I got an award for my dissertation work in arts and sciences at Georgia State for that work I did. So
That's
I excelled
amazing.
in it. I did my thing. So, you know, my book is going to feature all
So
kind
your
of,
name is actually Doctor.
yeah,
Like
I'm
tell
Dr.
people that.
Bright, PhD.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your name
But
is actually Doctor.
yeah, you know, I have that title, but I'm G. My name is Garfield. I go by Garfield. And even though I have a PhD, to me, I'm G. I'm Garfield still.
Yeah,
You know,
of
that's just
course.
something I accomplished. And I don't make
Um,
people, you know, call me doctor and all that. I know I did that. And if you know it, if you want
yeah.
to call me that, boom. But you know, I didn't do it for the status of it and all that. I really like knowledge, and I just wanted to keep learning and testing
So
myself that way.
I was just about to ask, what made you want to go get your doctorate
Well,
in
what it,
educational policy?
well, it started with the masters. I was at Cal State Northridge. I was a part of an organization called the Hip Hop Think Tank, and we were basically hip hop heads who, instead of writing rhymes, were writing research papers to present um, and publish, you know, at conferences. Hip hop had become a sexy topic after
I love
Tupac's
it.
death, after Tupac's death in the academy. And it was a young crew of burgeoning scholars who were ready to write about all things hip hop, but in the academic format. And we got invited to Georgia State National Council of Black Studies was a conference, and we were presenters. And they saw me, and they were like, "Yeah, the shot thing is cool, but we really think that you have something going here with your academic self. If you want, you know, we'll give you a fellowship to come here and try to see if you can do this master's work, and that will, you
Mm-hmm.
know, kind of help the African American Studies department then go further and get a PhD program." So they brought me in, they paid me a fellowship so I could pay my rent and all that stuff and go to school hardcore, in which I did. And when I finished, I felt like it was the onus was, you know, with me to try to get my PhD, because that would help the claim of the African American Studies department get funds to start then growing PhDs from African American studies
Mm-hmm.
instead of just stopping at
Mm-hmm.
the master's. Because if they created students who went on to get their PhD, it would bode well for what they were doing. Like, we were ready.
Right.
And so I got accepted into the educational policy studies program over there, that Dr. Asa Hilliard and a few others who were dope scholars kind of like started over there. And, you know, after I gained entrance, you know, I made it in, it was on. And I never
Yeah.
aspired to be that before, but I just kind of just fell into it. I had the aptitude and the wherewithal to do it, and I ended
Yeah.
up excelling at it. And so I
Yeah.
just took it to the limit.
That's great. I love to hear stories like that because it's a couple of my favorite things. I love hip hop and I love hip hop education. I'm definitely a hip hop head education person.
Yeah, my dissertation was about how Black males navigate spaces where power is distributed inequitably. So I looked at
Oh wow.
black males inside of the classroom and how they
Yeah.
navigate that, and I also looked at Black males in the music industry who have to sign a contract to get started, and
Hmm.
which is skewed power dynamics wise. And so, two sides of myself, tell you the truth, and that's what I did my dissertation on.
That's good. I would love to read it.
Sure, it's accessible. It's
It's
online.
published, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. That's pretty cool because I feel like um there's so many conversations we don't have about things particularly like that. Like I haven't gone back for my doctorate, but I wanted to do mine because I work in special education on the disparities for Black and brown boys in special education and how those numbers lead to the pipeline to prison.
Oh yeah, well, school to prison pipeline was a big part of my dissertation.
Yeah, because the demographics of those kids are 90% Black and brown and also 90% special education. And so
Hmm.
because my license is in sped, I'm always like, yo, there's no advocacy here, especially as a Black woman advocating for these children. Um,
Exactly. Good
so
stuff.
yeah,
Good stuff.
yeah. Yeah, it's weird though, because even as a woman in that work, when I was going to school to get my master's, I think there was like in my whole class, and I went to Hunter here in New York, um, maybe like two or three Black people in the whole like
Mm.
cohort. And I just was like, yo, we're teaching here in New York City, all of these kids, majority Black and brown kids, and there's just not enough people in the room that look like me.
Yeah, that's a sad
And
state
then
of
you want
affairs.
me to
Period.
go out and teach these kids and you wonder why they don't know how to have healthy relationships with other people because they don't see people that look like them in the positions to teach them. I think that's really important. So the work that you do is very valuable, especially when it comes to policy.
Yep. And so I'm in the trenches. I teach now as a
Yeah.
high school teacher, ninth and 10th grade English lit in an alternative school though.
Yeah.
So, my students are the students who are like one step away from going to juvie. And
Yeah.
so that's the population that I love. And they love me for some reason, right?
Yeah.
But that's why I put my energy, and that's what I do every day of the week. And then we do our shows on weekends and stuff like that. So I wear literally two hats, but my
So
students.
how do you rest? Because like during the week you're a teacher. I know what that does to the human body.
Yeah, I know. It's
And
a.
then on the weekends you're doing shows and stuff like that. So how do you make time for the work, for the music, and then for your personal life? Like how
I
do
just
you
go.
balance all of that?
I just go hard and fall out.
That's it.
That's the current state of how I'm living right now. I go hard in the paint and then I just fall out. I don't have no real management of it. It's just I know I got to do both, and I just go hard.
You just
Then I
set your
just
mind to
till I
do it
can't.
and do it.
Then till I'm just sleep happens. Like
Yeah.
so. Yeah, food happens, all kind of stuff like that. So
That's crazy. What are the shows like now?
we never stopped doing shows. So I've been, we booked all the way up through November now, I think. And the shows are
Wow.
dope. We got this dude named Shane who does Young Fly Entertainment, which is his company. And for the last 12 or so years, he's been getting us a lot of work with all the 90s groups, the
Right.
H-Towns, the Shies, the Silks. We just did a show in Detroit. It was Tyrese, Escape, Shy, 112, Drew
Oh, nice.
Hill, those, that the usual suspects. Sometimes we do
Yeah.
stuff with Genuine, John B, the 90s.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's always the 90s, and it's always an arena. Like we do some type of arena. So it's packed. So
Yeah.
the shows are well attended, and in the 20s of thousands type of stuff, in arenas like where the pro basketball teams play and stuff.
Yeah.
And we do our thing, man. People still love the 90s. People's coming of age moments was punctuated by a lot of our songs, and
Yeah.
we get to eat off of that still. So that's dope.
Yeah, no, that's great because I be listening to this music now and I'm like, I don't know that song. I don't know any of the words. I don't know that song. I don't know how to do that dance. I don't know what this is. So, do you
Yeah,
have kids?
yeah. I do have. I have 5 sons from my last marriage, so,
Okay.
yeah, then
And how old are they? About.
well, the youngest one in that crew is 22. Nas is the youngest, 22. Then my next one up from there is 25. I have twins that are 27, and then the oldest of the bunch is 32, and I'm
So
53.
you so the music that so you understand my kids are all over the place. They range from 13 to 26. But you do know like the music they're listening to now is not anything like the music that we used to listen to.
Oh yeah, I'm quite familiar with, as a teacher,
Yeah.
my students put me up on everything that they up
I
on.
know, because they be trying to get sturdy in my classroom with their
Yeah,
phone
feel
and
me? So, you know, and I got a healthy respect for it, even though it's not what I did. I'm not gonna judge it in that way because I know transition. I know how my music looked to people that were older than me,
right.
and so it's always that thing. There is some music don't come in a vacuum. So whatever society is on is what the music is going to reflect,
Right.
for better or for worse. And so that it's an expression. It's still creativity. It's just not in the way, the sensibility aspect of it is not sensitive to the same things that maybe we were in terms of content. But you got to think about it like this, and this is how I kind of chalk it up. Like back in my generation, the whole concept of when people say what's up and talk, you it was like, you know what I'm saying. That was like, you know what I'm saying, you know what I mean, you know what I mean? And that was the intellectual kind of like thing, if you really think about it. Do you know what I mean? Right?
Right.
It graduated from fuck what I mean, feel me. You feel me?
Right. You feel me?
So now the meaning of it is not as important as just me to you. Did you feel me? So you looked at breakdancing and popping, it was real technical point A to point B type movements, real articulated movements that went from that to crunk dancing, which was just nothing but a physical like movement of emotion. It wasn't no real actual technique to it in a
Right.
lot of
Right.
ways. It was like a feeling of feeling. And for some people, it was like, tight eyes and people like that were real good at it because they incorporated gymnastics or a couple of little breakdancing pieces within it. But it was really that "do you feel me" kind of thing working itself
Right.
out in dance. And so then when you talked about hip hop from my day, with KRS One speaking very clearly, and
Right.
the Rakim Alive, the Big Daddy Kanes, the Brand Nubians, all the people, the Wise Intelligence, the X Clans, all the way through the tribes, the lyrical wordplay was something. It meant something. You gotta be able to understand the bars, you gotta present
Right.
them clearly, and you gotta have monosyllabic things, and your punchlines gotta be based on some real clever, because it was word centric, it was intellectual.
Right.
But then the mumble rap comes. It ain't about all these words,
That's all I hear.
it's like it's a feeling
A
just like how that
sound.
crunk was. So it's graduated from the intellectual movement to a
Right.
more, as a human dude, can you feel me? I don't need you to
Right.
understand shit. I ain't asking you know what I mean. You feel me. And that's
Right.
better than you know what I mean. And so that's
Right.
where the music is transitioning right now. It's in a state going from "do you understand what I'm saying" to "you feel me." And the "you
Right.
feel me" is like, I know you and you know me. We the same shit. I feel
Right.
you. We ain't got to say the right. We ain't got to say no words to make that
Right.
thing official. We know what that is. You just, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so it's a recognition in that way. And so because I know that, I don't judge what music is doing today because I know it's
Right.
operating off a paradigm of "you feel me"ness as opposed to "do you understand what I'm saying"ness. And so I
Yeah.
can't judge it based off my paradigm. Just like English teachers be want to judge texting when it first came out because they're using the English language. But there's a component to texting that substantiated all those abbreviated words. You had to pay for each character. So it
Right.
became genius in their paradigm to abbreviate the shit out of something and still get the message across. While
Right.
if you judging it from an English teacher paradigm, it's like, yo, they short changing all these words, they messing up the
Right.
English
Right.
language.
Right. They
Nah, that
talking to
money
me in
part of it, if
text.
you suppose it. So it's two different paradigms using the
Right.
same materials, and you
Right.
can't be called judging. And that's just how I look at it. So I'm not too hard on this generation in terms of what they putting out because I know it's headed to another. It's a place where it's headed to, and it's in the trend. It's like a hairstyle that's on the in between stages. You got to wear a hat for a while to grow
you
in.
got you got to let it grow out.
Yeah, so that's what's happening right now to me. So
Do you do you feel that because social media is so accessible now that the music has become more accessible to more artists, to more people?
hell
Because
yeah, that's how I'm able to put out a single without having to sign and sell my soul to a record label. because I got,
Yeah.
I got a little file. I got 22,000, a couple of people type thing, and I can just
Yeah.
release music right to them if I want to, and let them know, hey, it's
Right.
out, and they can enjoy it. You know what I mean? That's good enough for, for my taste. People that rock with me can actually check me out, and if they like it, they can share it, and I can skip the middleman. I don't need
Yeah.
no distribution. I can go straight to the, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's that, to me, that's a better place, to be in. Like one of the dopest artists out there in terms of business sense, is 21 Savage. Like
Hmm.
21 Savage didn't have to sign no record deals and get pimped. Matter of fact, he pimped the record labels. They came back and wanted to use his catalog. So they had to
Right.
borrow that from him. He signed contracts that they were asking him for the use of his stuff. And he was still
Right.
getting paid off of it and getting paid the advance money they gave him to use some of his stuff without having to sell his soul. And
Right.
so that was unheard of. He got such a big money from that. And
Hmm.
nobody that I ever knew did it like how 21 Savage did it. He don't get
Yeah.
enough
Because
credit for that. He kind of
yeah,
mentions
it's
it
the
in one of his new
opposite way
songs too.
around.
I heard him say something like, truth be told, I might have started this. And people might be thinking he talking ish because they don't really understand what his business acumen is. They just know 21 Savage for, you know, how many shots you got a lot, you know what I mean? But Savage, study 21 Savage and study his situation with his record deal, like his paperwork, or how he did what he did. It's
Yeah.
ingenious, man. It's on the level of how like Luke and them did what they did back in the day. Master P, how they did what they did.
Right.
Savage is like the new age that. Like, so people need to
Wow.
really check Savage out. And I'm not necessarily like a crazy gung ho fan of his music. I just got a lot of respect for that dude, man.
For
For
the
real.
business
Like,
part of
yeah, that dude is dope. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
yeah.
That's interesting because a lot of people get into the industry and they don't have any idea how the business works.
Man, Savage pimping the game, man. I can say that. This
So
brother is out
to
here
be
pimping the game.
ahead of the game at his age is a good thing because a lot of people lose out. You know that. A lot of people
Yo,
lose out. They lose the
yo,
access, they lose their masters, they lose money, they
yep.
lose, they lose time, they lose a lot of things signing those deals because it's just like, oh, we got a record deal.
And the, and the, and the
It's a
perception
deal.
is,
It doesn't matter. It's a deal. And then later on, they're like, okay, this wasn't,
yeah.
10 years in, you're like, this wasn't a
And that's
good
what my
deal.
dissertation outlines. Is when I told you I looked at how they navigate the power dynamics for the student side and the artist side. It was the same four things. The first period is four periods. The first period is the trial and error period. Like, you come
Right.
into the game thinking that you're an artist when what you actually are is a product maker. Like,
Right.
you think you're making art, but you're really making that product that the label takes over and sells,
Right.
despite what the hell you think you got to say about it. They'll release your shit in different orders than what you thought they was. And
Mm-hmm.
so the trial and error. So once you realize that, you go into this bag of, oh shit, I need to peep game. So the next stage is peep game. Because now you in this thing and you seeing it's not what you thought it was, but you still have a dream to do it, but you want to save your soul and save face a little bit. So now you're looking for that thin line to ride without selling yourself out, that you can look in the
Right.
mirror every day. So you peeping game on how this works. Once you figure out how it works a little bit, you trying to apply it. That's when you get a new attitude based that's different than when you first came in with the trial and error. When
Right.
now you know it's a business, music business. You get a new attitude, and then from there you start operating off of that. And then the last thing is, experience is the best teacher. The industry will teach you certain things, like, like, don't make your friends the people that run your business part, because those big friend loyalties are not necessarily bestowed upon people who might be the best qualified. And
Right.
so that kind of thing, and then you end up using those philosophies even in real life outside of the industry. And that's the four stages, and that happens in the school situation as well as the industry. And those are the four pieces that I uncovered in my dissertation.
Wow.
And so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We gotta go back and learn and make some changes. What is one thing you would say you learned to date in your life through these experiences? Like, what is one thing you would have tell your younger self?
Well, luckily I'm doing it. I'm myself in all spaces. To be yourself in all spaces. Like, you can code switch in certain ways, but at the end of the day, that authentic self, if you can find that and be good with that about you, be that in all
Mm,
spaces. And that way you ain't gotta ever stress yourself out trying to be something to fit this and fit that. Some people do that, and more power to them. But I'm me in all spaces, and I feel a sense of freedom in a lot of ways because I can do that. You know.
wow. Powerful. because people can't always be their whole self in all spaces. They're not comfortable in all spaces.
I'm vigilantly me in all spaces too.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I just like that you could say it, but I'm still at a place in my life. I'm like, can I really say that here, or can I not say that here? You know, like I want
My
to.
man Gene Deal be saying, "Fuck them and feed them beans." That's how I feel if you are if a space is trying to contour me to become out of myself, that's the first thought that come to my mind is Gene Deal saying that. And I don't
Yeah,
even know Gene
it's
Deal,
true.
but if he actually is the earshot, you'll laugh, bro, because you influenced me on that one. But yeah, I'm gonna be me, damn it, you know,
Yeah,
because
I
that's
mean, you
all I
can't be
got,
any.
at the end of the day.
You can't be anybody else.
I gotta look in
Well,
the
it
mirror in the
was
morning.
so nice talking to you, Garfield. Tell everybody where they can find you, where your next tour is, where I can read this dissertation, like all of it.
Okay, the next show we have is in Houston on May 12th in the Arena Theater, and that's a Friday. And then that Sunday we're gonna be in Chicago at the Chicago Theater. So that's just coming up soon. So the 5th, the 12th, and the 14th of May is coming up, and that's our next two shows. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at the Garfield Bright Experience. That's my long ass handle. And and the last part, what was it? It was something you said. I
The
forget. It was one more little part to
dissertation,
your
your
question.
website, the
Oh,
concert,
dissertation. Yeah,
social media.
the Georgia State Archives. You can go on, or you can actually Google it. And I think it'll prompt you. It'll direct you to where you can find it. Through Google as well. My
Yeah,
dissertation, and then you can download it and stuff like that.
yeah,
But
we got
and then stay tuned to the Shy Instagram, Shy 90s official, and Hieroglyphics are the two places for us. And you can always see the flyers and stuff posted. My page too, for the next shows that we have and stuff like that. I put them in my stories and stuff like that. So
nice.
you can stay tuned to either me or go to the Shy page, and you can always find our next shows. And we got a lot of shows coming up all through the summer, June, July, August, looking like they all booked all the way through and through. September, even
That's
October is
great.
trickling. Yeah, it's lovely. We get to eat.
That's
So
great. We get to eat. We get to fly out, hang out, and
yeah, all that
enjoy
stuff,
the
man.
people,
30 years
enjoy
later,
the
still doing it
music.
like that.
Yeah, that's dope. That is
Bro,
so dope. Cause there's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of people that do it, and then it's here and then it's gone. Like you
yeah,
said,
for sure.
you knew it wasn't gonna last forever, but you're still doing it.
We happen to write our own music. So we get
Yeah,
publishing from our own songs. We still get the royalties that we.
yeah,
So Babyface and different people, luckily, well, at the time we was wishing Babyface would write us something, but we wrote our own stuff. And now, 30 years later, that's actually what sustains us because we were writers and we wrote our own material and became iconic. So we
yeah.
get a nice little cool little royalty from it.
That's beautiful. I
Yeah.
love it. I love this story, Garfield. I just love. I know one day you're gonna write a book,
Oh, for
and it's
sure.
gonna be amazing.
I actually wrote a book, but it's not a biography yet. I have a book called Lotus 3013. It's a speculative fiction piece, dystopian type of piece, black, um, Afrofuturistic piece. And it's basically the premise is in the year 3013, hip hop is believed to be a white cultural invention. And it's all
Mm.
kind of stuff that comes with that. If you could put Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and Beat Street in one thing, you'll get what I got. The one, Lotus
Yeah,
3013. So,
you might want to consider publishing that
oh, I am. I'm getting ready to sell it.
because yeah,
And then hopefully
yeah,
do a little
because the
anime thing
Harry
for me.
Potter lady is killing it right
Oh
now.
yeah, oh yeah. So mine is real in depth and thorough. My twins, my sons, who are producers, Grammy nominated producers, they did the score to it like a movie score, and
Yeah,
so it sounds like a movie. It's just
it
it's an
does that.
audio book though. It's an ebook and
Yeah,
an audio book. I'm selling for $25 when I sell it together.
but the concept sounds like a movie.
Oh, it is straight up,
Yeah.
and it was 10 years in my brain in the making. I couldn't touch it while I was getting my dissertation because I was just up to here. But as soon as I finished, I took a month and wrote a chapter per month until I got all 10 chapters out. And it took about a
Wow.
year. And
You
now
must have like really good discipline.
yeah, people tell me that in certain ways I do. I've
You
always
got
had
to.
certain things that I can really just zone in and just
You
finish the
have to
job.
have. Like no one person accomplishes all of this without having
Yeah.
like that much discipline.
In the moments of it, I'm not looking at it as discipline. It might be some kind of crazy like thing that I have in me that just got this weird attention span where I'm just in it until I finish, then I can finish. So some people say
Yeah.
that's discipline. It might be some kind of crazy reverse ADD or something like it's something, I don't know if I
No,
can give all
that's
myself all that credit, but a lot of people, used to always tell me, because I used to fast, so I'm a vegan, different
yeah.
things like that. They like, gee, you got discipline, man. But
I
maybe,
mean that too. Being a vegan is a lot of discipline too. What
yeah, I
made you
guess so.
decide to go vegan? If you don't mind
Well,
me
like I
asking.
said, when I was 17, I stopped eating beef and pork at 17. I was already not eating beef or pork for all this part of my life, and then about 12 years ago, 11 years ago, I just woke up one morning and said, you know what, I'm quitting chicken, and I'm not gonna drink any more sodas. And so the last thing that I had left was, the chicken, fish, turkey, because that's all I was eating anyways. And once I
Yeah.
quit chicken, I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna stop eating any blood-based foods. I was in the Dr. Sebi too. Plus I had, from being in the nation and how to eat to live and all those things from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I was already on that kind of track just most of my life. And it was
Yeah.
just really not too much for me to just go and cut out blood-based foods because it creates mucus in your body. And
Yeah.
that's where disease lives. And, I'm 53, I'm trying to still, keep a cool appearance. A little vanity
Yeah.
is leading me in that
Take care of
direction.
yourself.
But I'm just trying to take care of myself, and I know that what you put in your body kind of like determines how long you get to stay here and stuff like that most of the time. And how
Exactly.
you are, your spirit too. It ain't just food.
Yeah.
It's your
We
way of
talk about
being.
that too. People's
Yeah.
spirit is a part of their energy too, and I don't think people understand that.
Yeah. You can eat the best, but if your spirit ain't really, you know,
Yeah.
it's the
If
same thing. So
yeah, it's bad energy, it's bad. If it's
yeah,
bad juju, it's bad juju. That's it.
yeah,
No matter
pretty
what you
much,
dress it up
pretty
in.
much, pretty much. So
That's
that's my
wonderful.
reasoning. I just wanted to, do what I can control, try to control it.
Yeah, fair
And
enough.
if I know better, I know better. It's not that I don't like the way those foods smell and with pork.
Yeah,
I ain't trying to be around no pork, but or
yeah,
really beef. But I walk past Popeyes and be like, ooh wee, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
I'm never going in there and getting none of it. I'm just like,
yeah,
remember that smell, like, ooh, I remember that taste,
yeah.
that kind of stuff. But yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. I'll try one day. I don't know when, but one day.
Well, when you're ready, you're ready. And that's when you do it. You know
I'm
what I'm saying?
getting closer and closer. I do know that. I'm getting closer and closer. Same thing. Like it makes a lot of mucus and I'm asthmatic. So I've had a
Ah,
number of doctors tell me already, like if you cut out milk and cheese, which I don't drink milk anyway, because I believe that cow's milk are for cow's babies. And since I'm not a cow's baby, why would I be drinking cow's milk? Also, do you know that humans are the only animals that do that? Like
yes.
cats don't drink dog milk
Right.
and goats don't drink cow milk.
Right.
So why am I? Like what was they smoking when they was like, let me go up under this cow and like so I stopped drinking milk and like things like that and kind of took certain things out of my diet, but my doctors actually were like if you want your lungs to get better, you got to cut out dairy, you got to cut out certain things because it's just not going to get better if you don't do that.
Yeah, for
Red
sure.
meat, everybody tells you. I had stopped eating red meat for like a year and I was telling my mom, everybody I know that has any kind of medical issue, and it don't even got to be the same. I know people with rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, all of them, the doctors say cut out red meat.
Yep.
And these people don't know each other. Just different people in my life. I'm like, how everybody got to cut out the same thing? Then clearly, this is
That
an issue, right?
Crohn's disease or diverticulitis, those kinds of things too. It comes
Yeah.
back to that.
All of
Gout,
those. Yeah.
all
All
that
of
kind of
those.
stuff.
And then your doctors are telling you cut it out. And I'm like, well, if every doctor's saying cut it out, then clearly there's something in there that is affecting all of these people.
Yeah.
And they don't have the same thing, but they're all getting sick.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
we'll see what happens. We'll see.
We'll
We
see.
gonna see. Yeah.
I'm gonna
We
start a
gonna see.
YouTube coming up in the summer where I'm gonna address a whole bunch of this kind of stuff. It's called Curiosity Collage. It's gonna be on YouTube. And it's just gonna be a hodgepodge of different things from some academic stuff to health stuff to just different things that I've come across that I think is useful knowledge for people out there. I'm gonna be doing it. So that'll be another thing to look
You
forward
should
to.
definitely do that because there's a lot of people that want to learn that stuff and they don't know where to go to seek that information.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get my
Like
little
I had
2
to look
cents.
up Dr. Sebi myself because other people were talking about it. You know what I mean? And that's how I kind of like started falling down the rat hole and let me follow this and read that. But if you don't have a place to go to that you feel confident in getting information, because that's another thing, right? Where
Yep.
people get their information from allows them to feel confident or not confident
Right.
about the information that they're getting.
Yeah.
So people gotta be, you need a spot like that where people can learn, like the journalists you said,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the hip-hop culture, you're learning, you understand, but somebody's talking to you in a way
Yeah.
that it could resonate with you,
Exactly.
right? Because
So
sometimes people be talking to you on a different channel and like, yo, fuck that shit, I don't know
yeah,
what you're talking
yeah.
about. You
You
know
know
what
what
I
I'm
mean? But they
saying?
saying the same shit, but
Yep.
you just not receive, you
Nah,
don't want to receive it.
you don't want to see that one.
You
Yep.
don't receive that one,
Yep.
but somebody else tell you and be like, okay, I could fuck with this. You know what
Yep.
I mean?
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
they speaking to me in a way that I could understand. So
Yep.
I think you definitely need to be all over YouTube with all of that, because there's so
Well,
many
thank you.
things that we need to talk about. It was a pleasure talking to you. You're so insightful and
Likewise.
interesting. And like I'm still amazed at like all the accolades, because I just think like I just can't get over like whenever you write this book, I'm gonna be like, I told you so. I told you so. You've accomplished more in your life than some people right now, and you only halfway. Then some people have accomplished their whole entire life. Seriously, like those are your flowers. I don't know if I'm
Thank
giving
you.
it to you correctly, but it's
Thank you.
very admirable
I appreciate
to
that.
have a conversation like, yo, I did this, like, and you're just sitting there like, oh shit, like I feel like I've been slacking. The fuck, I gotta go write a dissertation, go back to get my PhD. I gotta go, like I feel like what the fuck I've been doing.
And I
So
promise you, as I'm accumulating all this stuff, I never go into it thinking like, yeah, I'm about to go get this one too and do this. I just
I
be
know,
floating from like
I
wherever
know.
the thing takes me. I'm
I
like,
can
okay, I'm here.
absolutely
Let me,
tell. I know.
so
That's what even makes it even more impressive. You're
thank
not
you.
trying to impress anyone. You're just like, yo, I'm gonna do this and I'm smart enough and I could do it. I'll try. And that's
Yeah,
that. I don't even think you see it the way somebody else sees it. You're just doing what you do. And I get that. I
that
respect
is
it.
true. I'm just
But
doing.
it's a lot and it's dope. It's dope.
Thank you
We
so
need
much for that.
more Black men in those positions, in those places, in those spaces to be able to sit at the table with all the experience and the credentials behind them to talk their shit.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. I see you. Well,
Thank
thanks
you
for having
so
me.
much. I appreciate you. And yeah, we're gonna get this up.
All right, well, just keep me posted, and I'm always here. You can always drop in on me and stuff. So,
Oh yeah, I definitely will. I'm gonna read the dissertation.
okay, for sure, for
I'm
sure,
gonna
for sure.
study. And then
Thank
I'll
you.
decide if I ever want to go back. I haven't decided yet.
Well, if you have any questions from this point forward, just feel free to hit me, and I'll tell you everything that you're curious about.
For sure. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.